everybody. Creative Katie, Karen Burchill here. Welcome to my channel. Have you tried this? Have you taken ATC sized papers and used it to create a background? Let's give this a try. So recently I created this beautiful pinkish masterboard. I made 3 cards with it, which was my goal, but then I had a tag left over and the equivalent of 6 ATCs. Here's a picture of the cards that I finished in that video. And if you want to go see me create that masterboard, look for this video, 7-step masterboard. So back to the ATCs. I'm not a fan of ATCs, but I like the shape and those are what I had left. So I cut 4 ATC size pieces off of the masterboard, and then I had some other pieces, but I realized that I could piece them together and make the equivalent of 6 masterboards. So here I'm taking 2 pieces, lining it up as well as I can, and just gluing it down. Now, the glue isn't very particular. I'm just using a glue stick and it's not really sticking, but I know I'm going to be gluing it down onto that gessoed 9x12 mixed media paper. So I just need it to hold a little bit till I get the right size. So I'm just kind of moving this around, seeing something so it kind of flows together and looks like it was actually done together. Just cutting it to size. Then I decided that some of those ATCs didn't have the correct markings, so I grabbed out the stencils that I used when I created the masterboard, and I'm adding some of those elements back in a place that looks good. Now, those 6 ATCs I'm arranging on that gessoed mixed media paper so that it kind of makes a good composition. Remember, this is the background of my art journal page. So I'm not working on the 2.5 by 3.5. I'm working on the 9x12 and just using the shape or the shape of these ATCs to create my background. Now, if you had cut out circles, you could use the same thing with circles or a hexagon or whatever shape you want. This is not exclusive to this rectangular shape and size. I could have cut 2x2 squares and had that arranged on the background, and it would have done the same thing. The key here is use those collage papers, use the masterboard to create the background. Your background doesn't have to be all over color. In this case, it's kind of resembling a grid journal, but it just affords me a different opportunity. Now I'm lining up, putting the ruler across to get them roughly the same height. I'm not being overly precise, but if that's the way you roll, then you can measure. Now I grabbed some black and white flower printables and I cut out a whole bunch and I'm layering those on top of my rectangles. I'm interspersing it. I've also got a Julie Nutting stamped doll right there. And I found the phrase, "I'm tickled pink." I'm going to edit that a little bit and blow it up later. But I'm putting those flowers around and I love the black, white, and pinkish tone. I really love that color combo and I'm really playing that up with the big bold font for the tickled pink and the black and white flowers. Remember, I want to see this as one cohesive page with 6 places of color. You could have circles that go around. Now, again, my background is painted white, or I just did a coat of white gesso. I'm rearranging this again, and I'm deciding. And then this sat on my desk for a couple days. That kind of ended the session, and I moved on. The next day that I grabbed it, I wanted to finish it off, add the finishing touches. So here I'm just taking my angle brush and black acrylic paint, and I'm shading around all the ATC sized cards. And those are 2.5 by 3.5. So I'm shading the tops and the bottoms. And here my wrist is getting in the wet paint and it's smudging on the white gessoed surface. So here I'm grabbing a rag and I'm just wiping that off. And I can do that because it's gessoed. If it was raw paper, that would have been stained and I would have to come in with white gesso and paint it. So here I'm just finishing the other sides. Lesson learned, I'm drawing in between with my heat tool. Then I want to paint out my Julie Nutting doll. Now you can use Posca pens, you can use watercolor, I'm using acrylic paint, slightly watered down. This is just a craft paint that's in a flesh tone. I got one bottle of flesh color. I can change the tint or tone of it if I so choose. I'll be shading it later. And then for the dress, I'm taking a little bit of that Naples yellow that went into the background, mixing it with the quinacridone magenta to get this same color pink that you see from the Masterboard. You could also, if the Masterboard, if there was just odds and ends and all sorts of different shapes, you could have put that kind of like a mosaic on the background and then used it. I'm painting her hair a yellow oxide color, which is a darker version of the Naples yellow. So it kind of all works together. I don't want to introduce anything new. And since I've chosen the phrase tickled pink, I want to be pink forward. So when you see it, you really see the pink. I played with the idea or thought with the idea of painting the flowers pink, but I really like the black and white of them. Here I've watered down some of the quinacridone magenta and I'm using my fan brush and I'm splattering. What this is doing is putting some of that color into the white space of the background and maybe making this look more like it's one cohesive page. So we're trying to bring, just like putting those flowers, offsetting the flowers off the ATCs, that's going into the art journal page. The splatters is going into the art journal page. Now I'm splattering with gold because I love my bling. Now I'm also going to extend into the white space. I have some gold paint here, just spreading it out on my palette, and I have a lid, and I'm going to do some stamping, mark making of circles with that lid. And I'm not going to stay just inside the ATCs. I'm going off the edge and onto the white areas to get some color, some interest, some pattern on those other areas, the non-colored pages. This is a very subtle way. If I wanted it darker, I could have used black or I could have used pink on this. And I did toy with the idea of doing pink as well, but I decided less is more and to stick with just the gold. So when I finish this art journal page, I will be finishing the tag. So from the one 11 by 17 Masterboard, I got two 6 by 6 cards, one 5 by 7 card, this art journal page with the 6 ATCs, and one 8 by 10 tag. So I'm just stamping in there, making bubbles in the background. And I'm grabbing my angle brush and I'm shading the Julie Nutting doll. Don't have a Julie Nutting doll? Stay tuned. I might have an option that you might be able to easily source when I do the tag. So I made the phrase tickled pink. I omitted the I'm and I made the tickled pink larger, kind of offsetting it a little bit. And then I went to my short and sweet sentiment pack and I picked out some words and I decided that I'm going to put one word on each of the ATCs. Inspirational: smile, laugh, listen, dare, trust, and believe. Now I grab my fine line applicator bottle. This has thinned down black acrylic paint from Liquitex Basics. And I'm just going to put a black line around the border of the page. This kind of defines the page. I didn't want to shade on the outside because I thought that I like the white the way it was. And I didn't want to really darken it up, but I could have shaded it with black around the edge. But this defines it all the same. And then I decided to go around the ATCs. If you get it in the wrong place, because everything underneath here is permanent, it's all acrylic paint, I can wipe it off. And there is the finished art journal page using the ATC size shaped masterboard pieces. Give this a try. You might like it. So let's work on this 8x10 tag. So if you don't have the Julie Nutting stamps, although I highly recommend them because I've used them, you can use some girls from the front of patterns. I had a bunch of patterns, basically keeping collage paper, the pattern paper for collage paper, and I realized that the covers also give me a focal point. So I'm cutting out a couple of these girls. One's pink, one's black. And I'm thinking, okay, which one works? I kind of pull out a few other focal images to see how it goes. But I really don't like this element right here. It's just in the way of where I may want to do. So easy peasy, grab some gesso and white it out and put color back on. So here I'm putting the gesso right over top of the black. I think I do give it a couple coats just to knock all that black back and get rid of it. So if you something on a masterboard that you don't like when you go to create with it, you can always do exactly what I just did. Use the magic eraser, gesso. So here I'm just grabbing again the quinacridone magenta and the Naples yellow, and I'm just reapplying color, filling it in. I'm undecided at this point whether that bottom motif of black is going to stay. Spoiler alert, I get rid of it too. But one thing at a time, one decision at a time. So even if it was a collage paper, a gel print, something that had an element in it that you did not like, you always have the option of altering it, changing it to fit your needs. The Harlequin stenciling that I did with modeling paste, I am extending it a little bit and whitening it up by using white gesso and using my stencil. So again, what was there, I'm just tweaking now that I know what I want to do. This is giving a much softer look. I'm basically getting rid of a lot of the black. Here I'm just making it a little more opaque. because I'm liking the look. It's softer. Then I grab the same stencil that I had before, and I'm going to put a little bit of that black in, but it's a much lighter motif. And now I have those dead spaces and empty spaces because I added that color. But now I know exactly where I want them because I know what I'm going to do with the focal image. Then I grab my script stamp. This is, I think, French, and I'm just putting black acrylic paint on it and just stamping a very fine patterns. So the black is still there, it's just way more subtle. And now, that bottom motif just seems to stick out. But I'm not convinced that I might be putting something, the focal image right on top, so I don't need to deal with it just yet. Decision made. So I'm whiting this out with my white gesso and then I add color, just like I did to the top part. Grab the makeup sponge with the black acrylic paint and I'm edging it with black. This is just framing the tag. So there is the girl, and I'm kind of trying to decide between the one with the black bathing suit or the other one. It's a little too small for the tag, so I'm going to try to add it up. I grab this doodle flower, but that doesn't seem to be quite right. This is another flower printable. I like the the points of the flower. It seems to match the harlequin, so I'm liking that. It's adding bulk to my focal image, filling up the space a little bit if I overlap it like that. So this is a definite positive of the two flowers. This one works better. But if I use the pink one, now the pink shows up, whereas otherwise the pink kind of disappears into the background. Then I have this butterfly. This is a stamped butterfly that I have in my stash. And oh, I love that. The stenciling that I did, that motif seems to really work. And again, it's a winning color combination, the white, the black, the pink. So I'm just giving her wings. So I'm grab my Winged Wonders sentiment pack. I cut out the one, Trust Your Wings, like the words can go on the top. Just going to reposition this a little bit. And when I'm happy with the placement of everything, I'm going to grab my fluid matte medium and glue it all down. So if you are at the thrift store, check out, do they have patterns? You can use the pattern paper, makes great collage papers as is, or you can do some stamped images on it. And then you can use the focal images from the packaging. I definitely be going through. I think I have another 10 of the patterns to see what focal images I can harvest. I have my fine line applicator out for the art journal page. So instead of grabbing my Secura glaze pen, I'm just using the fine line applicator to go around the sentiment here. If you're interested in sentiments, I have about 12, if not more, sentiment packs that are available as digital downloads at NINNYSNAPKINS.com. You can go and check it out, find a theme that you like, and download it. purchase allows you to print it off as many times as you want. So there is the finished tag, and I just love it how it all came together. So there are the two additional projects from that one masterboard. So go create a masterboard, turn it into cards, art journal pages, tags, ATCs, postcards. Until next time, go get creative.